What if the real World War III isn't happening between countries, but within human consciousness itself? Let me ask you something for a moment. Have you noticed how much information we're surrounded by every single day? News headlines, social media posts, videos, opinions, conflict happening all over the world. It can feel like there's always something demanding our attention, something urgent, something emotional, something that pulls us into reaction. And when you step back for a moment, something interesting becomes clear. Most people are constantly consuming information, but very few people are actually questioning how's that information shaping their perception? Because attention is powerful. Where our attention goes, our energy follows. And when our attention is constantly pulled into fear, outrage, or distraction, something deeper begins happening to our awareness. This is where I want to explore something today that might sound confronting at first. What if the real war happening in our world right now isn't just political or economic or military? What if the deeper battle is happening at the level of human consciousness? Keep listening. Welcome to the Inner Magic Academy podcast. If you're loving our videos, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks and enjoy this episode. Welcome back to the Inner Magic Academy podcast. I'm your host, Peter Magic. So this whole community that I'm building through this space is, people who want deep, honest conversations, people who want the real, the raw, authentic, and sometimes, it's going to come out in a very intense, confronting way. And that's why I'm here sharing these, truths that a lot of people might not be ready for, but, it's so important that I speak the truth based on, my level of perception and where I am right here, right now, based on what my soul has wakened me up to in this world. I have to speak as honest as possible. And I know that not everyone's going to resonate with this, but, there are people here. If you're here, right now, you're someone who tends to question things, right? So you're someone who notices patterns that most other people might overlook, and you're someone who feels there's more happening beneath the surface in this world that we're living in right here, right now. So not are you only aware of your own patterns and cycles happening within your own experience, you're also aware of, anything that's happening in the outside world. There's far more happening beneath the surface because there's so many things out there distracting us, so much information that we're consuming on all levels, right? And you're someone who is far more in touch with something far more deeper. You know that what is playing out at a surface level, there's a lot of conflict happening all around the world right here, right now, but it's only just surface level. There's so much more going on. And you're someone who's a truth seeker who wants to know the truth. But at the same time, this whole episode what I want this whole episode to be about is how easy it is to, to consume all of the information that's out there through social media, through news, the public perception on everything that's playing out right here, right now. It is surface level, and there is, you can say an agenda trying to control the public perception of everything that's going on, right? So I'm someone who, I've gone down many rabbit holes over the years. I've consumed so much information, and what that actually does, it makes you feel so confused and, what is actually true anymore. And that's what I want to talk about in this episode is, what we're here to do is we're here to go within. We're here to really follow in our own internal guidance system and trust in the guidance of our soul, because our soul put us here on this planet, right? Because we have this deeper awareness, because we're more aware of patterns and cycles, we're more aware of things that are happening outside of us. We know this things are happening far more deeper than what we've been led to believe. And now, the public perception on everything, the human collective perception on where that baseline is right here, right now. You're someone who is far more aware of things that are far more deeper. You don't just accept whatever you've been told, whatever you're consuming on the outside. But because you're someone who's a truth seeker, you want to know the truth. And it's so easy right now. people are putting things out there on social media. There's so much drama, there's so much fear, there's so much of this that you can quite easily go down many different rabbit holes and consume all of this information. It's going to leave you so confused as to really what is true. And so what I want to share through this episode, I'm going to talk about all of these different things because, it's so important to understand that, more and more people right here, right now, waking up, they're starting to question what's really going on around them. And when that awareness begins, you start noticing something important, how powerful attention really is, because attention shapes perception and perception shapes the reality we collectively experience. This whole reality is a collective projection based on everything that, the human consciousness on a collective level is believing and consuming. It's shaping the collective reality that we're experiencing right here, right now. And I'm going to go far more deeper into this now. So if you look at where we are right here, right now, as a human collective, your attention is the most valuable resource, because where your attention goes, where your focus goes, energy follows. And there is a collective perception that's being formed based on everything that we're consuming, anywhere our attention is going, anything that we're being told, right? Anything that we believe and anything that we're soaking up and making a part of our truth is a part of, what you are projecting out, right? And that's also part of what the collective projection of what is manifesting this whole physical reality we're experiencing right here, right now, on a whole collective level. I'm talking at a baseline human collective level, right? So all the conflict that you're seeing happening right now is, people are becoming more aware of things that are coming up beneath the surface. And so this is starting to play out, and we're more aware of that through a lot of the conflict. Yeah. So this is playing out because the human collective consciousness is waking up. They're becoming more aware of things deeper beneath the surface. And then so what actually happens is it's like the human collective shadow consciousness comes up beneath the surface, and now we can see it, right? We're more aware of that. And the whole, the whole point of what I want to share here is just how easy it is for us to consume information and anything that anyone is telling you about what they believe in based on what they've read out there or what they've consumed through social media, whatever is going on. Anything that you just accept, anything that you don't question, if you don't go deeper beneath, if you don't go within yourself, within your own guidance system, if you don't use your own gut, your heart, and your mind to really feel into that and drift beyond what is playing out in front of your eyes, if you don't do that, then you're just going to accept everything as truth. And there's so much that, because we're so busy, because we're so distracted day in, day out, we're going round and round and round, and we continue to just, most of us are just in survival, right? Surviving each and every day, and we're just tired and drained and exhausted. And if we don't proactively use our conscious energy to question things, to really feel into what that feels like for us, and just accept whatever anyone is telling us, or whatever you're consuming through the news, through social media, whatever information you're consuming through the internet, if you just accept that as truth, that is forming the human collective perception. That is forming your perception. And then what do you think happens through that? That everything is connected. Yeah. So we're all connected, and that is influencing, the human collective perception. So what I want to talk about, right, is just how easy, our attention is captured in this world. There's so much happening. There's so much conflict happening in the world. There's so much going on. It's overload. Think of how your brain is just completely overloaded. Think of how your nervous system's picking everything up, regardless of, words, we're feeling the energy around us, the collective energy. We're feeling how, for those of us who feel things more deeply, experience the world on a more deeper level, we're more affected by that. And it's affecting our nervous system. It's affecting our brain, and our ability to, you know, to like have more of our life force energy, because it's so easy for our life force energy to be, pulled in all these different directions, and all our energy to be taken away, and we feel depleted and exhausted and just overwhelmed by everything that's going on. And that's kind of where I'm going with this as well, is so many of us who are neurodivergent as well, because we're planted here on purpose. We're like a seed that's been planted here on purpose, with this deeper awareness, because we can't continue to go in this direction on a human collective level. And so do you not think that a higher consciousness, whatever you believe in, God, source, where our energy is coming from, do you not think that there is a plan to try and change things on this planet? Because the direction we're going in, we are going to self-implode. This is the raw truth here. And so what we've got to do is we've got to learn to go within ourselves. We've got to learn to stop consuming everything on the outside, right? And we've got to learn to trust in our own internal guidance system. And I'm here building this community to share the real truth. This is also authentic as I can be. And I have to speak this truth, as uncomfortable as it is. I've got to continue to face that, because I'm here to create change in the world. And so it's going to create a lot of discomfort for a lot of people, but I'm doing it for the benefit of the human collective consciousness on the planet. Because as I understand, as a human being, I don't have all of the answers, but I know my soul put me here on purpose. My soul is here to wake me up to the truth of this reality. And I've not been able to do that unless I've stopped consuming everything on the outside, and I've started to go within myself and trust in my soul, because my soul knows the path forward, and your soul knows the path forward. But you've got to learn to stop consuming everything on the outside and start to question things, and not just accept what you've been told, and accept, what is there on social media, through the news, whatever's going on. This is a controlled perception that is happening. There's an agenda. There's something there. It's far more deeper than most people realize. And so I just want to bring this to your awareness on how important it is to not only be aware of that, but not stop consuming all of the fear, all of the conflict that's going on is actually, to the better of this world. Because unless things start to come up beneath the surface and start to play out, how is change going to happen? It's important for this to play out, so we can learn to actually go within and learn to create more peace and regulation within our own system. Because the more we do that, the more then we can, change what is projected on the outside, right? And that's why it's so important that everybody starts to go within their own system and trust in their own soul, and know as a human being, based on your level of perception right here, right now, that you don't have all of the answers, or you can't see everything that's playing out on a deeper level, but your soul already knows. Your soul can see everything that's playing out at a subconscious level. It can see, and God knows exactly everything that's playing out, can see from that point of view, and it can see all of the distortion, all of the manipulation, all of the things that are happening, not only on a physical level, but all the manipulation and distortion and things are playing out beyond this dimension, because there's so much through energy that's happening that's trying to control the collective perception of human collective consciousness. And that's why, World War III is a war of consciousness, a war of your attention, of what your perception, and it's there to pull your focus and attention away and your awareness in a certain direction. So, the human collective consciousness is controlled, and there's an agenda there to keep us at a certain baseline, so we don't evolve, so we don't, go within and feel more of a connection, and so we don't then learn to project energy from an unconditional lens, an unconditional place, and feel more wholeness, and feel more connected, and feel more peace, and feel more and understand reality on a far deeper level. To reiterate all the things I was just discussing there, right? So when it comes to the human collective perception, it shapes reality. It shapes the human physical reality that we're all experiencing on a collective level. So what people collectively believe, what people collectively fear, what people collectively focus on, it all feeds the energy of the world we experience, right? So if millions of people are constantly focused on fear, division, and conflict, that emotional frequency becomes amplified. And as someone who experiences the world and feels things on a deeper level, my emotions and how I'm affected by everything that's happening is there's so much anger, there's so much frustration, there's so much, even at times, I feel so much rage within me. And I'm someone who has learned to control that within my own self, within my own being, and learn to, channel that energy in a positive light, in a positive way, rather than adding to the chaos and the destruction. So I'm using the power of my voice through my emotion to put something positive out in the world, right? So because it's becoming amplified, it spreads, right? So not because people want that outcome, but because attention feeds energy, and energy feeds manifestation. So the physical manifestation of our collective projection is based on everything, where our baseline of our human collective perception is. So what you're seeing playing out in the world is where our baseline is. And because, I'm going to go deeper now, because things are shifting energetically on the planet, people can feel it, right? So those of us that are more in touch with a deeper aspect of ourselves, are more in touch with things far beyond what they can see, they're aware there is a shift happening on the planet, right? And all of the solar activity and all of the things that are happening, it is affecting us as human beings. And it's affecting us as human beings because everything is connected, right? Whether we're humans, animals, plant life, anything on the planet itself is going through a shift, is going through a change, and it has to go through this change because, if we don't go through this change, we are going to self-implode. And so things need to shift and change on a human collective level. And so we are right here, right now, put on this planet on purpose to go through this change. And this is me speaking from a remembrance, in terms of me remembering and being waken up by my own soul. So my soul is waking me up to this. This has nothing to do with me consuming anything on the outside. This is got everything to do with me going within myself and trusting that my soul knows what's best for me. And my ego, doesn't know and have all the answers and can't see, things on a far more deeper level. But I'm becoming aware of things because I've gone within, because I've gone beyond myself, and because I've opened that connection to my soul to guide me. And I've learned to trust in the resonance of my soul. And that's why, I am able to have the perception that I do right here, right now. And even right here, right now, I don't know everything that's going on or have all of the answers, but I can feel into the distortion, into the manipulation, into the fear, all of the things that are going on. And I feel that through, my nervous system. I can feel where at times where, my brain is taking me in, and it's easy for our energy to be siphoned in all these different directions, and to feel depleted and exhausted, and to feel confused based on all of the things we're consuming on all levels, right? And so I know that this is all part of the shift and part of the change. And so I need to keep going down this path, as uncomfortable as it is. And it's been so goddamn uncomfortable, not only being aware of reality on a far more deeper level, to know that I'm here to break cycles and patterns within my own family lineage, and all of the belief systems and things that the younger version of myself has, internalized and made it part of their truth. I've had to, build that connection with my soul so I can, come back into alignment with the mind of my soul, and I can bring those aspects of myself to the truth, the true resonance, the true frequency, and I can start to be more of that in the world, and have more courage to face everything and know that anything that's playing on the outside is not going to pull me away or sway me away from who I'm here to be on the planet. And so, this is why becoming aware of where we place our attention is so important, because our attention is literally contributing to the collective reality we experience. And this doesn't mean ignoring what's happening in the world, but it does mean asking ourselves an honest question. Am I consciously choosing where my attention goes, or am I reacting automatically to whatever appears in front of me? And there are so many people right here, right now on the planet that are only staying at a surface level. They're only kind of focusing on whatever is playing out in front of their eyes. They're not going within. And there are certain people on this planet that are not in touch with a deeper part of themselves, deeper aspect of themselves. And there are many souls that are now being born onto the planet that are put here on purpose, planted as a seed, because they have a deeper awareness and connection to things far more beyond what is playing out in front of them. And they're not only more aware of what's playing out through their own experience, they're more in touch with things beyond this physical reality. And that is God, planting these seeds on purpose on the planet, because we need to go through this shift and change. Because if we don't change the trajectory and the timeline that we're currently on, we're not going to make it as a species on this planet. And so we need to go down this path. As uncomfortable as it is, we've got to face that within our own experience, within our own relationships, and learn to shift that conditional lens that we've been programmed to believe, and learn to see life through an unconditional lens, and know as a human being that you do not have all of the answers, and you can't see everything right here, right now. But when you start to go within yourself, you go beyond the programming, go beyond your current perception on where you are, and you learn to expand that. You expand beyond that, and then it shifts and changes things from the inside. And then what you project on the outside comes through more of a conscious, unconditional lens. Okay, so I wanted to go here for a moment. Something else that I've been noticing lately is just how disconnected many people feel from themselves, right? So everyone's busy, everyone's distracted, everyone's constantly consuming information, but very few people are actually slowing down long enough to reconnect with themselves. Like I've been mentioning, so many people's attention is being pulled in so many different directions. So many people are only used to being in survival mode. Right. And so what you think everywhere is people are walking through life staring at their phones. If you look out there, just how glued people are to their phones. And what do you have access to through your phone? You have access to social media, to the internet, to all of the news headlines. And you also have AI that is, projecting everything based on your level of perception right here, right now. So whatever you're being pulled into, whatever direction you've been pulled into, right? What do you think is going to happen? It's going to be put right in front of your eyes, and it's going to be, and your survival brain is used to being pulled in those different directions, right? And that's where your attention is going. And that is what is forming your perception. And so I'm only sharing this I'm sharing this out of love. I'm sharing this out of speaking the truth on where we're heading right here, right now. And that's why it's so important to have this awareness based on where we've been led to, on a human collective level, where technology has led us and how it's being used to manipulate and control the human collective perception, right? So, consuming more and more stimulation. Think of just how our brain is, seeking that dopamine, and it's actually through fear. Fear becomes an addiction, and wanting to know and get sucked into all these different directions, all these different rabbit holes. But people are rarely stopping to ask themselves, what do I actually feel right now? And what do I actually believe? And what is my inner guidance trying to show me? So it's so easy to allow our focus to go in all these different directions, and for us to feel so disconnected from our own internal guidance, and we lose touch with, the guidance of our soul and our intuition, and we don't trust in that. And so we get so, our soul's energy gets pulled in all these different directions, right? Because when we're constantly consuming external information, we slowly lose connection with our internal guidance. And when people lose connection with themselves, it becomes very easy to influence their perception. And what do you think, is playing out right here, right now? There's more and more conflict, more and more fear, more and more drama. There's so much that is there to keep us in survival mode, there to, take our focus and attention away from going within. Because when we start to go within and stop consuming all these different things outside of us, when we actually slow down and stop and go within, you start to realize that, you notice more, you become more aware of things. And by slowing down, you start to see through the distortion, through the manipulation, through whatever you've been consuming on all different level, and your perception starts to shift and starts to change. And that's because you're going within yourself, and because your energy is coming from somewhere, right? And we're all connected. Do you not think that your own soul, because you're only experiencing right here, right now, a fragment, right, of the entirety of your soul, that energy, right, and that level of mind can see through the bullshit, can see through the manipulation, through the distortion. And so because you start to go within, you start to trust in that, and you start to see, and there are so many people that are put here on this planet to notice this. And yes, reality is far more difficult for them to experience, and people that are autistic and have an ADHD brain have a different operating system, right? And they have a different operating system for a reason, because they're put here on purpose to see through, right, what is playing out in front of them, because they can see through that. They're the ones that are here to create change in the planet. And I've only realized myself over the last couple of years that I am autistic and I have an ADHD brain. I've always been someone that's been deeply aware of, things, and more in touch with things far beyond what I can see. And because I'm a deep feeler, I'm feeling the heaviness of everything that's going on around me constantly. And it's very difficult to be in this world, right? And experience things in that way, and then still, try and break out of everything you've been programmed to believe. Anywhere you're wherever it's taken you on your fated path, right? You've got to break out of that and know that your soul put you here on purpose, and there is a destined path for you to follow, and there is a plan. And God has a plan, and your soul has a plan for you. But unless you start to go within, you're not going to be able to follow a path that feels more aligned, that feels more true to yourself. And so this is the path that you've got to start to walk down. Using your awareness and using that ability to experience the world in depth, to start to shift things from the inside out. And everything that I'm sharing here is actually here to empower you, because yes, it's really confronting to start to become more aware of things. And, it makes reality far more, not only complicated, it makes it far more challenging. But what it actually does, having this awareness is here to empower you, because when you start to understand that the deeper battle that's happening right here, right now, is happening on an energetic level. It's happening on a human collective consciousness level, right? Then you actually start to realize, because of that, the most powerful thing that you can actually do is to reclaim your own attention. So where you're putting your attention, when you learn to start to reclaim that, you reclaim your power and your energy and you take back your authentic power. And what do you think you start to do with that? You start to then channel that energy in a more positive light rather than adding to the chaos and the fear and destruction and the separation and the conflict and all the things that are keeping people separated from, from themselves, from each other, right? So when you become more intentional about what you consume, more intentional about where you place your energy, more intentional about reconnecting with yourself, what this actually means is you start questioning information instead of reacting to it. You're starting to take space away from constant stimulation, and you're learning how to slow down. And you're also learning how to listen to your own inner guidance again, because your soul right here, right now, right, doesn't guide you through fear. It guides you through awareness, and it's only going to give you what you're ready for right here, right now. And yes, it can be overwhelming to receive everything that your soul wants to give you right here, right now, because your own brain's not going to be able to handle that. And so when you start to follow in your own internal guidance system, you're only going to get little pieces. There's only going to be a little bit in front of you that, and when you start to follow, slowly your perception starts to shift. And through that perception, you're reclaiming your authentic power, you're reclaiming your energy. And you start to have then more clarity. You feel more aligned. You feel more that you're speaking from more of an authentic place, right? So when people start to begin reconnecting with that deeper awareness, something powerful begins to shift in the world. So when you start to project your energy from a place that's more in alignment, speaking your truth, even though it's uncomfortable, whether that's through your relationships, in everyday life, in your workplaces, room, whatever it is, the more authentic and truthful that you are, the more you mirror that to others, and the more you bring things to other people's awareness. And it's not there to, create, confrontation, conflict, and you're not projecting. What you're doing is you're speaking your deeper truth, and other people can either accept that or not, and continue to let their reality play out based on what's playing at a surface level. But that means nothing about you unless they go within and face their own shadow and face things within themselves. That's not on you. All you're here to do is you're here to walk your own path, and hopefully you're going to create an impact on others on a vibrational level through your soul's frequency. And you start to anchor more of that in, and you're affecting other people around you, whether you're aware of it or not. And so that's why it's so important just to focus on your own journey, on your own healing, on where you are right here, right now, and just take it one step at a time and face one thing at a time in front of you. And the more you do this, the more you walk this path, you're going to realize that you are living here on purpose. You are living with more intention. You are living with, and it feels right. It feels right, even though, it's challenging and it's uncomfortable to, like a caterpillar, right? When, when it turns into a butterfly, and it's uncomfortable. Shedding that skin, shedding those layers is uncomfortable, but it's part of change. It's part of growth. It's part of expanding, and that's what you're here doing on the planet. If something in this episode resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on where your attention has been going lately. So, what information are you consuming? How is it affecting your state of mind? And is it helping you feel more conscious and connected, or more reactive and overwhelmed? So, awareness is the first step to changing that. And if reflections came up for you whilst listening, I invite you to share them. And this is why this podcast exists. This is why I'm creating this community, because, I'm here to encourage people to be their most authentic and unapologetic self. And I want to encourage people. I want to hold the space for people through this podcast, through this community. And, if you're not yet part of this community, join this community and really, this is where I'm going to go. Like, I don't, right here, right now, is I don't have all of the answers, but I'm walking this path, and I know things will continue to expand and evolve the more I go down this path. And so, I've got to continue to do that, even though I don't have all of the pieces of the puzzle right here, right now. And I know that I'm already living on purpose by being here, right now. And so I want this to be a shared space, a shared community where people can, share whatever is coming up, for them through this experience. Because I've learned, to hold space for myself, which means I have the ability to do that, through my community, to hold space for others, just to share, if whether that's to vent, whether that's to, talk about whatever is coming up for you, because, you know, there's nothing that I haven't heard. There's nothing that that will shock me in this world, in this reality. And so, that's what I'm here for, is as someone who's, wired so intensely in how I feel, my emotions, I know that I've learned to control and channel all of this in a positive light. And I know that I can be very intense and very emotional, and so much can come up, but I always speak from an authentic and truthful place. And as uncomfortable as that is for me to go through, and as uncomfortable as that can be for others to experience, and particularly, my partner, she's in my life because she's someone who can hold this vision with me, and it's a huge vision that I want to build for the Inner Magic Academy, and this is only just the beginning of this journey. And I know that the more I go down this path, the more this space is going to expand, and I want to build this network of souls, and you know people that are resonating with all the things I'm sharing. They are people who are more in touch with things on a far more deeper level. They experience this reality in depth. And so they are going to be people who are autistic and have an ADHD brain. Like, they're naturally going to gravitate towards this because they're in touch with things on a far more deeper level. And so that's why I'm building this community, or, for neurodivergence in particular, to walk this path with me, and to walk this path being courageous and brave, and facing everything that's coming up for us. Because all we're doing is we're facing one thing at a time, each and every moment, and we're allowing, through our perception, as it continues to shift, we're just using that to bring ourselves more into alignment from the inside out, to start to live more of a path that feels true to ourselves, right? So I can't do this without this community. And this is something that we're building together, right? And, real awareness grows through honest conversation. And so this is as honest and authentic as I can be. I feel like this episode in particular is where I've been more courageous, and allowed myself just to be more free and in the flow. And I feel like this is going to be such a powerful episode, and it's going to bring so much awareness to others. And it's through that tone and frequency and energy that I'm channeling is through, that is you're going to feel it on a deep level. And I know that's why I'm already here on purpose, and I'm trusting in that guidance of my soul, and I'm encouraging you to follow in your own internal guidance system, so you can start to transform and shift things from the inside out. So, awareness is where change begins. So the world may try to pull your attention in many different directions, but your consciousness, your energy, and your awareness are always yours to reclaim. This is the Inner Magic Academy podcast, and I'm really glad you're here. Thanks so much for joining us for this episode. If you enjoyed it, we'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to our channel and give us a like or even a comment. It really does help so much in getting our work out there to the people who need it. We're so grateful for you being here, and we'll see you for the next episode.